When the General Service Administration's Las Vegas party that cost taxpayers more than $800,000 made national news, even congressional Democrats got outraged.
Joining me now is Representative Cummings. I know you have a lot of government workers in your constituency representing Maryland.
I do.
But the outrage over this, I heard what you said yesterday. You were, to put it bluntly, you said you were pissed off, as was everyone on the committee, over what they did. What were they thinking? And more is coming out now about bonuses that colleagues were awarding each other.
We've got to make sure that we shine a bright light on it, and we've got to address it. And it's a good thing that the president has now appointed an interim, Mr. Tangellini, to clean up this mess, because it's truly a mess.
After all, the GSA is the federal agency created to bring efficiency in purchases across the different departments of the federal government. Essentially, the GSA is the federal government's landlord and purchasing agent. The irony of the government's efficiency agency wasting money is bad, but it wasn't just the money wasted. GSA employees bragged about and sang missives to the waste of taxpayer money. The pinnacle of the conference was a video contest, one where Hawaiian GSA employee Hank Terlage sang about his wishes to waste money. Now, Terlage's video was done as a lark. Musically, it had merit, and Terlage had the good sense to have himself arrested at the end of his video for wasting taxpayer funds. But the people were outraged because he was singing about wasting money while his agency was wasting money. And the GSA officials in charge were wasting money for real, whereas Terlage was just musing about it. The organizer of the conference, Jeff Neely, also boasted in teleconference from the convention.
All right, Jeff, any words to impart on the audience this evening? What are you taking home from WRC?
I think what I'd like people to take home is to dispense with the notion that what's done in Vegas stays in Vegas, and to really leave with what's done in Vegas needs to be shared with everybody.
And Congress did hold hearings in April asking Neely some questions. Neely responded.
Bear with me. Mr. Neely, what is your title at GSA?
Mr. Chairman, on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my Fifth Amendment constitutional privilege.
Mr. Neely, did you attend the 2010 Western Regional Conference in Las Vegas?
Mr. Chairman, on the advice of my counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my Fifth Amendment constitutional privilege.
Mr. Neely, did you approve the funding for the 2010 Western Regional Conference?
Mr. Chairman, on the advice of my counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my Fifth Amendment constitutional privilege.
Just a few more. Mr. Neely, what was the original budget for that conference?
Mr. Chairman, on the advice of my counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my Fifth Amendment constitutional privilege.
Mr. Neely, are you currently employed by the GSA as a federal employee?
Mr. Chairman, on the advice of my counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my Fifth Amendment constitutional privilege.
Lastly, Mr. Neely, are you prepared to answer any questions here today about your participation in the 2010 Western Regional Conference?
Mr. Chairman, I respectfully decline to answer any questions here today based upon my Fifth Amendment constitutional privilege.
Neely pleading the Fifth Amendment should perhaps not be unexpected. The GSA Inspector General report found 4 different possible violations of law in Neely's nearly $1 million party. That a high official of the federal government efficiency agency wanted to replicate this waste of taxpayer dollars raises serious questions, or should raise serious questions. This conference is not an isolated case of wasted taxpayer dollars. The Office of Inspector General report on the GSA conference also noted that there had been multiple instances of waste, bribery, and other misuse of taxpayer dollars. The OIG report tried to paint a positive picture in its report, noting that nobody exerted political pressure to try to stop publication of the report. The author even noted that usually, the GSA's Office of Inspector General is able to get much of the wasted funds back from officials who have been fired or prosecuted. That's not really the point. It's not just one incident or just one agency. There's the gun walking scandal, where the federal agency in charge of keeping guns out of the wrong hands, the ATF, gave 1,500 high-powered weapons to the Sinaloa drug cartel of Mexico, the so-called Fast and Furious program. The billions of dollars the U.S. government wasted on propping up dictators such as Hosni Mubarak, only to create hatred against the United States. Studies to analyze methane emissions from cattle, and studies on the sex lives of various insects, and on and on. Whether it's the most recent Secret Service scandal or Boston's Big Dig, which was several 100% over budget, there's a pattern about government itself. It's inefficient by its very nature. Yes, the U.S. government needs watchdogs like the Office of Inspector General auditing government programs, but that's only a band-aid to the real solution. The inefficiency will continue as long as the federal government keeps doing as much as it is doing. Consider the case of the annual audit of federal program duplication by the U.S. General Accounting Office, another watchdog on top of the Office of Inspector General in each agency. The GAO revealed in 2011 that there were more than 84 cases where the federal government had multiple agencies responsible for performing the same task. 35 different programs responsible for infrastructure, and an amazing 52 different programs responsible for promoting entrepreneurship. Now, government-sponsored entrepreneurship is itself a contradiction, but does the federal government really need 52 different programs to promote what should be a private matter anyway? When the GAO revisited its overlap program in a second report released on February 28th of this year, they found that only 5 of the 84 program overlaps they had found in 2011 were put under a single agency. And they found an additional 54 new programs that had overlapped with other programs. And that's the lesson to take away from the GSA scandal. There is no way to make government more efficient. And as government gets bigger, it always gets less efficient. So the only way to contain the damage to the economy is to limit the size of government as a whole. America needs less government.